I'm gonna walk you through the behind the scenes tour at LAX so you can see how CBP operates and what you can learn from it on how to prepare better when you come into the US. CBP does these tours, and unfortunately I cannot show you pictures or videos of inside because we are strictly not allowed to, but I could talk about it and I could share with you the things that I learned. There are 8 big takeaways that I got from the tour, and I'm gonna share that with you. Let's go. Number one, how do you talk to a CBP officer? They said, do not prepare anything in writing. Okay, I mean, okay, I don't even have words right now because for the past 4, 5, 10 years, 500, 1,000 clients that we've represented coming into the country, who've been abroad, who have all these particular issues, we spend months and months preparing their written statement, their attorney brief, all the supporting documents. Was all of that in vain? The officer is saying, don't show me the document, because what are you doing in the US? What is so hard for you to say, right? For example, if you're a tourist, what are you doing here? Right? We're not using fancy vocabulary. What's the purpose of your visit? Visit your son? Yes? Yes? Why can't you say that? Why can't you say visit your son? Why do you need to write it down? I'm here to visit my son, right? Like, why? They want to see you struggle. That's directly quoted, right? Because in that moment, all of their training is to read the expression, is to have a conversation. They cannot and will not read the documentation until you get to secondary, of course, right? So when you see an officer, just like how we prepared our clients, you spend months and months, prepare your stack of documents, your explanation, the nuance of the law, why you qualify, why you should not be turned around. You do all of that, but you carry it in your hand, but you yourself need to be prepared to say it. And you need to be confident, and you need to be able to let them read you, right? You need to volunteer yourself up and say it so that they can read you, so they can ask you questions. If they cannot, then you go to secondary and you talk more. That's how you see an officer. Let them read you, you read them, and you explain to the best of your ability. Number two, a soft secondary and a hard secondary. That was, wow. What do I mean? If you are entering the country and you get in trouble, right, they have additional questions for you. If they cannot immediately admit you, you go to first soft secondary. And then afterwards, if you get in really big trouble, if you have a case that's built against you, now you need to be deported, expedited removed, all sorts of situation, then you go to a hard secondary. And we went into both of these rooms. First, when you go to a soft secondary, you get escorted out of the line, you go into a private room, and it looks similar to a DMV, maybe a little bit smaller, maybe 30, 40 chairs, and you sit there and you have different officers sitting there waiting, calling you up, reviewing your case and writing. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it's extremely slow because there's only a few officers and there's so many people there. Typically, recommendation, you might wait an hour and a half, and they adjudicate you 5-10 minutes. But it's a place and time where now they can talk to you in more depth. This is the time that you can call a translator, and they had pretty much every single language available for translation. So that's where you're trying to explain more things. And if you have a very nuanced situation, that's where they have the 5-10 minute conversation with you. And then if they want to build a case against you, then you go to the hard secondary. That's where you get escorted into this other room. You could put your bags and all your belongings in one place. You can go and get your luggage and you bring it back up and you keep it and you stay in this room, kind of like you're being grounded. If you need to use a restroom, there's a restroom right there. There's food, there's water. And if you need medicine, you can ask the officer will escort you, get the bags, get your medicine, you go back to the room. It definitely looked much better than a jail, but it's definitely no fancy hotel. But they take care of at least your basic needs. You stay there until you have the flight. They take you, you get on the flight, and then you fly back out. Don't be too frightened if you are in a soft secondary. That's a time where you can explain in more detail. So that's why if you want to save yourself time, if you want to save yourself the trouble, you should prepare as much beforehand as you can before seeing the officer. Number 3, voluntary departure or expedited removal. What does that mean? What happens when you get in trouble with a CBP officer and now you have to fly back? If you are able to say, I am really, really sorry, can I voluntarily withdraw this admission? I didn't prepare the right documentation. Please let me buy a plane ticket. I'll fly back. I'll prepare it and then I'll come right back. Very reasonable request. Very reasonable. I tell all my clients to do this if they get in any trouble. If the officer says, all right, fine. The good part about that is your visa is not canceled. Sure, there's going to be a record of why they're about to deny you, but now you can prepare better, right? Treat it like a request for evidence, especially if they actually filled everything out. You can actually get them a printed sworn statement. So now you know exactly what they're looking for and prepare better to come back in. That is extremely beneficial for your immigration case. Number 4. F1 students entering the country. If you are an international student entering the country, the work that the CBP officers have to do is actually a little bit more than everybody else. However, the CBP officers have triaged this situation so that during the peak times, for example, between June, July, right, or maybe around July, August, September, when you walk in, there's a section purely dedicated to F1 international students. If you come in with a unique situation, they can solve it right then and there and probably won't get it wrong. Number 5, which line do you stand in and what happens if you are first entering the US trying to get your green card, right? You got your immigration packet, or if you are a green card holder and you're coming in, which line do you go? The moment you get down that escalator at LAX, you see this help desk. They are the traffic control of arranging where do people go, and they switch it up. That's why sometimes if you are a lawful permanent resident, you go with the US citizens. Sometimes you're a lawful permanent resident, you go with the non-immigrants. It's different every single day, but depending on the flow of how many people are there, they try to balance out the lines. Now, with that being said, if you are coming for the first time as intending immigrant, your visa was approved by the consulate, you're coming in with that giant packet and you're presenting it, they're saying you can go into any line. Because are you a non-immigrant? Well, you still haven't gotten your green card yet. Are you a green card holder? Well, you didn't yet, but you have your immigrant packet. So which line are you supposed to? There's no way they're gonna have a separate line saying if you're an intending immigrant. That's just gonna make more confusion. So when you get off the escalator, you're just gonna be hoarded by everybody else and you're just gonna see it's confusing and you're just gonna go everywhere. Essentially, just go where it's shortest, okay? Do everybody a favor and go where it's shortest so it balances out the situation. Number 6, your attitude. All right, so something that they were joking offhandedly, but it carries a lot of weight, is that what's the biggest difference between the non-immigrant line and the US citizen / green card line, right? From the CBP's perspective. US citizens, that line, those people typically have a bad attitude. Go figure. Americans, we have adopted the American spirit. The non-immigrants, people who can't speak English well, they're coming as a tourist, everybody shows up politely, smiles, present documents, waves hi, smiles. You sense fear, but you also sense that politeness and joy. So the takeaway is if you happen to be at the US citizen line as a lawful permanent resident, if you just have a great attitude, that already brings you up a lot, right? Because now you know everybody else that they had to deal with. If you present yourself differently, maybe it will just boost your case a little bit. Vice versa, if you're in the other line and then if you have a bad attitude in a line where everybody else had good attitude, it won't do you well. Number 7, is there anything you can do to increase the chance of you successfully coming in? Well, one thing is just get a lot of these documentation to prove that you're able to enter in their system, right? In their system, right? Of course you could print out bank accounts. Of course you can write out a statement saying, I never intended to abandon my green card. Those are nice secondary things. What I am telling you now is get your documents and your systems into their system. How, you might ask? Well, the CBP system is connected to all these other systems. So if you can file with other agencies, then it's linked and then it's in their computer. So the moment they scan your face, see you, they can see certain things and they will like you just a little bit more. So what am I talking about? Reentry permit, I-90, Global Entry, Sentry, Nexus, the mobile passport system. There's so many of these systems that you can apply for, that you can get, that you can file, that you can pay filing fees for. But now your documents, your information, your explanation is all uploaded on these other systems. And when they are looking at the screen and they're seeing you, a lot of things populate and they just like you a little bit more because you've been vetted. You've been vetted by all these other agencies. You've been vetted by all these other programs. There's a higher chance that you are fine, that you are not going to destroy America the next day, and they are the person who let you in. Last, but definitely not least, is the topic of searching your phone. So, this is a very sensitive issue, and whatever your personal beliefs, you're a libertarian, you're a high conservative on this particular issue, let me just say that they are very sensitive on this as well. And you have to understand it from their perspective because we had a long discussion about this. In order for them to do their job well, this world revolves around the phone, and so much information is communicated on said phone. If you want CBP officers to really protect the nation at large, they should and need the ability to check that phone. But that comes to the invasion of privacy. But where do you strike that particular balance? It's up in the air right now. CBP officers, they have the authority to do that if they have a suspicion. You, of course, have the authority to say no, but then when you do, then you make basically the officer saying, okay, well then I don't trust anything you're saying, so based on your action, you're essentially pleading the fifth, then I'm gonna revoke your visa or whatnot, right? And so what is the takeaway? Now that you know what their concerns are, and you have a phone, if you can explain the situation to them, they just want to make sure you are not violating your visa. I mean, that's their entire role in this interaction between you and them, right? Unless you're a criminal mastermind and you're trying to smuggle people and drugs in and firearms, that's a different story, and hopefully you don't succeed. But if you are, a tourist coming to Comic-Con, you're a little bit sensitive about the pictures on your phone because, you don't want to show them your messed up makeup. Let them understand that's your concern. Maybe you can open up the app and you can show them some of the other pictures and let you consider. Maybe you can show them your luggage. Maybe you can show them other things. And you do the work to show them that you're not a threat. And then if you can convince them, maybe they don't have to search your phone. They're just doing their job, right? So make it easy for them. Help them help you. Help them help you. In this tour, we've learned that 35,000 people per day go through LAX. They only have about 50 personnel. A lot of them are working overtime, 10 hours, 12 hours, overtime shifts. There are not enough people that they're hired. They're trying to hire constantly. They're trying to get a lot more people onto different systems, so it's like much more efficient. They're trying to open up more international airports so people fly in different places. Pre-COVID, it was like less than 30,000. Now it's 35. During the summer, it's going to be 45, and next year is going to be even more. And then when we hit the Olympics here at LAX, it's going to maybe even double. It's absolutely insane, and they have a lot to do. And so, given that there are all of these constraints, they're doing their best to try to streamline and help every sector of society. Their hands are tied in many ways. So do yourself a favor. If you've watched this video up to now, understand the situation they're in and do your job to help them help you. Hopefully if you found this helpful. And again, if you just have any questions about entering the country, about your visa, just jump on a call. We could do a consultation, and I'll let me help you a little bit so that you could go through this a little bit more smooth. Right? Thank you. Take care.